Welcome to our exhibit, a tribute to Willful Women. We're so excited to have this both in our upper and our lower gallery. We are excited for you guys to come and see it. We've been putting in a whole lot of hard work to get it all together, and it really is a show that you have to see and come and read, and just it's all about stories and about people from here nationally, as well as really the story of Michigan. So please come on in and see it. We're open from 10 to 4 Monday through Saturday. We'd love you to come in and just read the stories of our people.
I am in the Artworks building in the lower gallery, sponsored by TCF. And we're excited to bring to the Big Rapids community, Acosta County, the Petticoat Patriot exhibit. This exhibit was organized by the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame. And what they have done is to really look at the suffrage movement from a Michigan perspective. And so the storytelling that is happening with the lower gallery exhibit will give you some real strong insight into how women got the right to vote and how it was impacted both nationally and in Michigan. One of the things I want to show you right now, because it took a long time to make this happen, of course, in our country, but over 75 years. So you can see the timeline that was created by the Hall of Fame, and they have where we were nationally, pre-Civil War, which is interesting, and then where we were in Michigan. So Ernestine Rose, a reformer from New York, speaks before the Michigan legislature on women's suffrage in 1846. And right around the same time, the first Women's Rights Convention met in Seneca Falls. So between 1846 and then, of course, we're celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the 19th Amendment, so to 1920. And you all know how much we cherish our Big Rapids native, Anna Howard Shaw, and the impact that she had in this whole process as well. So you will see her name in a number of places and learn so much more about her. We want you to, though, remember that we are having a Zoom presentation on Friday with Tricia Franson, who wrote a biography of Anna Howard Shaw. So you can come to Artworks and pick up her book for free. Thank you to Michigan Humanities for the grant that we received that enabled us to provide those books for free to our community. So come into downtown Big Rapids, the Artworks building, the lower gallery, sponsored by TCF, and see Petticoat Patriots. I'm particularly enamored by this piece here, Women's Suffrage on the Ballot in Michigan, 1874. Check this out. It was defeated 135,957 to 40,077. And let me tell you how upset Susan B. Anthony was about that. The newspaper returns show women's suffrage lost 5-1. What better could be expected? Every whiskey maker, vendor, drinker, every gambler, every libertine, every ignorant, besotted man against us. And then the other extreme, every narrow, selfish, religious bigot. Excerpt from Susan B. Anthony. So on the ballot was for the extension of suffrage to women, against the extension of suffrage to women. So we want you to come down into the lower gallery and vote here. So along with the Petticoat Patriots, we have this chance to vote. So this would resemble a voting booth from back in the day. So I am going to vote for the extension of suffrage to women. Yay for us, we can vote.
Hello, my name is Tracy Bush, and I'm the lead faculty for the Museum of Sexist Objects at Ferris State University. And we're very happy to be invited into this community collaborative to celebrate women gaining the right to vote 100 years ago. We actually got an exceptional merit grant last year to bring our museum into the conversation. And if you take a look at our objects that we brought to Artworks, some of them go back to first wave feminism. So some of these anti-women, anti-feminist, silencing women objects, for example, are showing the way that suffragists were treated over 100 years ago. So I think it's really important to keep in mind that when women advocate for themselves, they oftentimes have pushback. I think sometimes we have the wrong idea about suffrage, and we think that women were given the right to vote, when in fact they had to fight very, very hard to gain the right to vote. So the museum does a lot to show the way in which sexism continues to manifest itself in our culture today. You'll see here is, for those of you who watch The Handmaid's Tale or watched it in the past, this is from a march that we went to last June in Lansing called the Handmaid's March. And we also have a number of political posters, posters from women's marches since 2017. So I think the idea here is that the fight goes on, that women are still advocating for themselves and fighting for themselves. And the museum gives us a way to have those conversations. I think one thing to pay attention to when you look at the history of Ferris and the history of Big Rapids is the fact that the founders of Ferris, so Woodbridge and Helen, were very much advocates of women's education. And this is long before women were let into state universities and certainly the Ivy League universities. So I think this is a very good time to reclaim our progressive heritage and to say we have something to be proud of here in Big Rapids. Of course, there's the history of Anna Howard Shaw, who was one of the leaders of the suffrage movement, but our founders, Woodbridge and Helen, were also strong advocates for women.
Hi, my name is Rachel Folk. I'm a professor of art history at Ferris State University, and I'm so pleased to introduce to you some student work from spring 2020 that was inspired by the 19th Amendment and the Museum of Sexist Objects. So we have a selection of student essays that came out of my Women in Art class, and we did a lot of things in that class, looked at women artists, but we were also looking at how women tend to be represented in works of art. And of course, this carries forward to how women are represented in pop culture and in advertising and in everyday objects. So I asked my students each to find and consider an object or an image that represents women in a positive light and can be interpreted as empowering. And I also asked them to consider a work of pop culture or advertising that is more confining or even oppressive, building upon stereotypes that are oftentimes applied to women. So we have a selection of student essays that deal with these topics. And just as an example here, this one is by Lauren Honeman, and this is one of the empowering images. That is an advertisement from Under Armour, and we've actually got a surfer by the name of Brianna Cope here, young woman, 23 years old, and she's overcome physical disability in her journey to becoming a professional surfer. And this image is really striking because, of course, we see her as powerful, as flexing those muscles. And as we look at the words behind her head, you can see, I will be ignored. I will be underrated. These are the kinds of things that, many women who seek professional careers, that's in their head. But what is bold here and what's right in front of that flexed fist, I will not be uncomfortable. So she is strong and powerful and taking on the challenges of being a woman in professional sports. And to me, I can't help but see a little bit of Rosie the Riveter there, and a history of images where women have to fight to be recognized and to have their voices heard. So we invite you to consider the selection of student essays that combine images and text. And if you have any comments, let us know, because we hope to grow from our audience. Thank you very much.
Welcome to our Willful Women exhibit, and as you'll see, there are many parts of it, and I'm here to show you the local stories. We've been working on getting people to recognize the everyday people that have had an impact on our lives, and we have 15 different ones here, written by our many local people that you'll recognize. And we would also like to make sure that we give a real thank you to the Mecosta County Historical Museum for providing us with so many nice accessories for this exhibit. And in this case, we have hats and we will be seeing some dresses and other things later. And also thank you, Margot Berkey, for giving us 2 of her vintage typewriters to use as accessories for this exhibit. I think it's important for us to, you know, as we're paying tribute to women who have been, and we use the word willful in the most positive sense, because they're women who have exerted their will, who have acted sometimes out of the ordinary and shown great strength. And I think the other parts of the exhibit show what a challenge in many cases that has been for them. And so we invite you to come into the gallery and sit down. We have chairs, and you can sit and read these stories of people who have impacted the people that you know. We also have some stories of the original women in Mecosta County who were impactful. And of course, we have Anna Howard Shaw, which you're going to hear a lot more about, but also people like Gertie Knapp or Anna Frederick. And in the case of Sister Mary Joseph Lynch, she actually served with Florence Nightingale in the Crimean War. And so some very interesting characters. This exhibit was actually put together back in the late 1980s by our Humanities Council, which of course is part of what Artworks is today, is a blending of the humanities and the arts. And we're happy to be able to present this material for you to enjoy.
A tribute to willful women. That's what this exhibit is all about. Up in the Batdorf Gallery, we have so many really cool artifacts and stories for you to experience. One story in particular that we want to share with you, we have mentioned over and over again, and that's Anna Howard Shaw. So, as you know, Anna lived in Big Rapids and was very instrumental in the suffrage movement, and actually was Susan B. Anthony's right-hand woman. She went all over the United States giving speeches and encouraging people to, you know, fight for suffragettes and, you know, let women get the right to vote. So her role in that whole process was just huge. And picture this, check it out. From the Mecosta County Historical Museum, this was Anna Howard Shaw's desk. She was a teacher early on in her life when she lived in our community. And actually, this was the desk that she sat at. So it's a really remarkable piece. And who knew? It was right here in Big Rapids. There's also other landmarks for you to check out about Anna Howard Shaw around Mecosta County area. And there's a statue by the Big Rapids Community Library. There's a stone out in front of the Mecosta County Historical Museum. And then in the Paris area, there is where she lived. And so this is, they made it a Michigan Historic Site, and this is the signage that is there. So we want you to come in and check out the Anna Howard Shaw story. Also, we would like you to pick up a book. We are so grateful to Michigan Humanities and Lake Osceola State Bank for the grant that we got from Michigan Humanities and Lake Osceola State Bank for sponsoring. This book is available to the first 30 persons that come through the door. And the author, Trish Franzen, will be on a Zoom call Friday, so that at noon, our brown bag presentation, so we can hear more about what she learned about Anna Howard Shaw. We also have pins for you. Make sure you grab a pin. I support Willful Women. So be sure, stop in to the Batdorf Gallery, downtown Big Rapids, in the Artworks building.
This morning we're going to talk about some amazing women here in Mecosta County. Artworks is honoring our amazing women throughout the exhibits this year, and these are the last 4 women to be honored. We're honoring them for things they've done for artworks in the very beginning, and we are honoring a banker who is amazing in the Michigan banking circles. So let's start up here with Debbie Zott, Debbie was communicated with Sandy Withrow early on when she drove past an empty building and saw colorful art in the windows. And she said, oh my goodness, my new hometown is having an adventure. I want to find out about this. So she contacted Sandy Withrow, who is another one of our women, and she, together they discussed being able to have a space for artists to work and to exhibit their work and to sell their work and to give classes. And as the discussions continued, Debbie was either given the task or volunteered to go door to door to ask for support from the merchants downtown in Big Rapids. And the goal was $10,000. And Debbie says, we ended up with $15,000. The town was so eager to support the arts and to have this in the midst of downtown. Debbie is also very involved in our community animal training and care, and she is pictured with one of her prize dogs. But she and her husband continue to support artworks in many ways. So we are grateful to Debbie Zott for her pluck, for her willingness, for her willfulness to do good for her adopted community. Sandy Withrow is actually the one we credit with having seen the downtown windows empty and dirty and disheveled. She went by a building and on the corner of Michigan and Maple and saw that the window blinds were all tattered and looking a mess. And that bothered her. And she was the director of the Downtown Business Association at that time. And so that kept niggling at her. And that's when she and Debbie began their conversation, is when she was able to get Carrie Weiss from Ferris, and Carrie said, I'll find some artists who will put art in the windows. Those artists were honored in our last exhibit, and they were wonderful artists who continue to support our artworks to this day. So our wonderful Sandy is the one who started the idea and who managed to work together and then to bring us, she said, you know, I could not tolerate bent blinds defining our downtown. When something drives you crazy, I recommend envisioning it as joy, and then having fun creating your vision. And that's what happened. And she is still a volunteer with Artworks for the exhibit receptions and so forth. So we're very grateful to Sandy Withrow for her pluck and her willingness and willfulness to get this started. And then there was the first director of Artworks, Jeanette Fleurie. Jeanette came to Big Rapids in about 1986 as the director of curriculum at the Big Rapids Public Schools. And she realized in that position the importance of the arts for the students and their families, not just the regular curriculum, but how important the arts were too. So she then began to look at her new community and find the art and humanities organizations in discussion, and decided to take part in those discussions. And so she was the one who organized, and she's the one who delegated, and she's the one who got volunteers to help get this going. Jeanette is a doer. Everybody in town seems to know Jeanette, but I can't say enough about Jeanette's willingness to work as well as think things up. And she brought all of this gathering of information from the Arts Council and the Humanities Council to make perhaps one organization. That one organization finally, after they talked about merging in 2000, at the beginning of all this, they waited until 2006 to get it all built together. And then when they merged, they had a home because Artworks had bought this building. And in 2007, the merger name became Artworks, Artworks, Big Rapids Area Arts and Humanities. And today, we can be grateful for the foresight of our people to buy this building on Main Street, and for Jeanette to continue as our director from then to 2011. Jeanette has continued her support as a teacher, as the director for many, many years, and as a volunteer. And she is an extraordinary gift to Artworks and the Big Rapids community. Deb Smith Olsen is a native of Baldwin, which is a nearby neighbor city, and she is now the chairperson of Lake Osceola Bank. She didn't start out as the chairperson. She started out in 1976 as a teller and has worked her way up through the whole organization and is now in her position as chairperson. She's a community leader, not only in Baldwin and that region, but she's also involved in Michigan Works, West Central Workforce Development Board as their chair. She is also working with the Spectrum Foundation for Big Rapids and Reed City hospitals. She has done major work in the field of banking here in Michigan. She's the past chairman of the board of Michigan Bankers Association. She is also on their management committee. So her involvement goes beyond being an executive with a bank and having worked her way up through the community of bankers. But she is also a community leader working with the Baldwin Promise Authority and other organizations within her community. The Troutorama is something that she has helped organize for years. She and her husband live in Baldwin, their children live in Baldwin, their grandchildren live in Baldwin, and she is very involved and grateful to be in this area and very honored to be one of our amazing women.
Hi there, I'm Christy Britton and I am a social studies teacher at Big Rapids High School, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about how it's important to be registered to vote and to be an active voter. Especially today's climate, you see a lot of people posting on social media with the problems that they have either locally or at the state level or national level, and issues that they have with how we're being governed. Well, the biggest way to have any impact on that is to be registering to vote and making your voice heard in our nation. So first of all, it's pretty easy to be able to register to vote. You can do it online or you can mail in your registration. Here at Artworks, they have an iPad that you can come in, and as long as you have the proper documentation, you can register to vote.
Push it twice.
I did.
Oops.
So you can come in and use their iPad to do it. I think she just showed you what you need to do that. Another thing more specific about what the Big Rapids Public Schools are doing is at the high school, we are actually our Key Club, and social studies teachers will help you or help our students that are at least 18 to be able to register to vote. So we can actually help them with documentation. We can even assist them in mailing in their registration, all that kind of thing. Another thing that we're doing, and I believe Big Rapids Middle School is also going to be doing, is having their own type of mock election. So actually registering in a way to do it, and voting, like we'll be voting this fall in the election for the nation. And we're actually also, to celebrate part of the 100th anniversary of women having the right to vote, we're going to be looking at how the gender of each voter does impact the outcome of the election. So looking at what percentage are the male votes and whether or not the total would be changed because of the women's votes added in. So those are just a couple things that we're doing. In September we have Constitution Day, and we talk about the Constitution, and specifically I know a couple teachers are going to be talking about the Electoral College, and really just trying to inform some of our students about how our nation works and how their vote does matter, and really how to vote.
Thank you so much for joining us on our tribute for Willful Women. We were excited to put this together for you, and we're excited for you to come in and see what we have for you. Come in, register to vote. It's been hard worked for, and it's so important, especially in this upcoming season. So please stop by 10 to 4, Monday through Saturday. Also join us at artworksinbigrapids.org for more content as far as what's going on in the gallery, as well as what's coming up next. Thank you so much for joining us today.